Hi everybody, we're going to go ahead and draw our trees colorscape. Now right before break we had already done a practice version of this and had taken just a regular piece of drawing paper and hamburger folded it or held it vertically and then brought the top to the bottom. And so we're working on just a half sheet of this paper, all right? So it's a very small space and we're making our paper smaller just to see if we can finish it within a small amount of time. All right. So before I get started, you can have your paper horizontally like I have here, or you can turn it vertically. All right. And draw that way. You decide which way you want to have your paper. All right. So there's that. So that's decision number one. You will need a pencil with an eraser, FYI. Okay. Now, the second thing you're going to have to decide in order to start sketching this out is you're going to decide, because this is an extreme perspective, right? So we're kind of using the Redwood Forest National Park kind of as our inspiration. But if you are, at the base of a tree, underneath trees, looking upward, they're kind of going to look like their branches are reaching together in a more extreme fashion than if you were just to take a picture like at eye level of a tree. So the first thing we have to decide is, where is your focal point for your piece? So think of this in terms of like the sun or the moon or a bird or any number of things, but that's going to be the point that it looks like all of your trees are reaching to. Okay, so your focal point is basically the point that all your trees are reaching to. You can put it in the center, you can put it up here, you can put it off to the side. You are going to decide where that is. Okay, so I think I am going to sketch mine out. I think I'm going to have mine actually kind of over here. So anything I draw today, I want to keep those lines light. I'm going to actually draw a little bit darker for you all just so that you can see me. But the lighter you can keep these lines today, the better, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes when you draw, which is fine. And then we want to be able to erase these as we see fit, okay, as we make mistakes. Now, the second thing you're going to want to have is like a ruler or something that you can use as a straight edge. I am just kind of like looking around real quick. I'm actually going to use my oil pastel box because, or actually no, I'm going to use my watercolor set because this is what I have on hand. But literally anything that you can trace around that gives you just a straight line is perfect. So the first thing that you're going to start sketching out is your tree trunks, okay? And what we're gonna go ahead and do is, for every tree trunk, we're gonna start the trunks toward the edge of the page and make it lead to our focal point, okay? Kind of like we're underneath looking upward. Now, a couple of things that you have to decide. So first things first, how many tree trunks are you interested in sketching out? All right. Typically within artworks that look the most dynamic or the most interesting often work in odd numbers. You'll notice that a lot. So consider that as you are sketching things out. You can do a whole bunch of trees if you would like. I will say, because we're working in the final medium of oil pastel, these, as you guys know, don't have like really small, like very thin points. So it can be a little bit tricky to do details sometimes in oil pastel. So you may want to make your trees a little bit thicker than you think you will need them, so that the branches end up a little bit thicker as well. Okay, so thing number one is like, how many of these things do you want to sketch out? Encouraging odd numbers. Drawing larger rather than smaller would probably be a better choice. But again, it's totally up to you. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I think I'm going to try and do three trees, 3 tree trunks that are connecting again to my vanishing point. You're sketching these out lightly. I'm going to draw them a little bit darker, and I'm using just my watercolor set as my straight edge. So I'm going to start the trunks off the side of the paper, and I am going to connect them. Okay, so I'm going to start with one right here. And I am going to make this a little bit wider. So how wide I put these apart will be how wide my tree trunk is. I'm going to turn this around. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Okay, so that's my tree trunk number 1. Sorry about this weird line. All right, next one, I think I'm going to do 3 total. So I think I'm going to do 1 here. I think I'm going to do 1 over here. Draw the trunk this way. Connect it again to this, just so it looks like a more extreme perspective. And I'm kind of making this a little bit fatter. And then I think I'm going to do my 3rd one over here. All right, so this is kind of what I have to start, okay? So think of these as your tree trunks that are leading toward whatever, okay? Your sun, your moon, your bird, whatever. At this point, so these equal our tree trunks, okay? Right now, what we have on our paper is, I know I drew 2 lines, but they do connect kind of to this area right here. What we have is a space enclosed by lines, so we basically have a shape for our tree trunk that we can then fill in with oil pastel next class or so, okay? What this means to us as we start to sketch out the branches is we have to draw the branches in terms of shapes rather than lines. For example, let's say I just kind of pull this off. I go to draw a branch here and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Well, this is a branch that is a line versus a shape that we can fill in with color. So what we're going to want to do is turn this line into a shape that we can then fill in later on with oil pastel, okay? The other thing we have to remember about branches is the ones that are closer to the base of the tree, closer to the trunk, are thicker, and as they get smaller and smaller and smaller and branch out, they become thinner and thinner. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start sketching out some branches, and I'm going to start by sketching out a line. Okay, I'm going to bring up another line beside it because, again, I want to turn it into a shape. I'm going to erase this little tree trunk line right here so that's all connected together. And then what I can start doing is just keep branching it out. Okay, so I'm going to bring up, I can turn the corner here, bring this up, turn the corner here, bring this up, turn the corner here, bring this up. Okay, and I'm going to have the branches reaching toward, looking like they're reaching toward my focal point there, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and toward the top. Most of the time, tree trunks kind of splinter out as they get to the top, so I'm actually going to divide this area. And I'm bringing it up on either side. to turn it into shapes. I'm going to draw another tree branch here. And again, when I come off the trunk, there's that little line there that I have to erase. Okay. And I turn this into a shape that then I can turn into more branches. So anytime you bring a line up like this, you have to bring another line up on either side of it so that it's a shape that you can fill in. Okay, so I have a really nice start to this tree that's like branching out all over the place. Okay, I could do the same thing with this one here. But this just kind of gives you an idea of a start to your tree.